Hey there, Jen. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, this afternoon, New Haven police still getting help in trying to locate Qinxuan Pan, who was last seen in Georgia yesterday. One of the agencies helping is, of course, the U.S. Marshals Service, as Jen mentioned. I spoke with them this afternoon on the phone. The follow-up to the murder of Yale grad student Kevin Jiang is news across the country, especially in Atlanta.
Authorities say a person of interest in connection with the murder of a Yale student has been spotted right here in Metro Atlanta, which is our top story tonight, folks.
The U.S. Marshals Service says the person of interest, 29-year-old Qinxuan Pan, was last seen during the early morning hours of Thursday, driving with family members in either Brookhaven or Duluth, Georgia, both Atlanta suburbs. Then later in the morning, another encounter with the dark-colored Lexus sedan with Massachusetts plates that authorities were looking for.
Family members were encountered on northbound through Georgia, just short of South Carolina.
That encounter on Interstate 85.
The Georgia State Police and the U.S. Marshals stopped to interview family members that were traveling north back to Massachusetts.
And that interview yielded somewhat mixed results.
One of the family members was cooperative, while the other one wasn't. Started out as a general conversation.
While Duffy wouldn't comment on who the family members were that were encountered, sources tell Fox 61 that Pan went home to Massachusetts after leaving Connecticut and picked up his mother and father as all three drove away from their Malden, Mass. Home in the mother's car.
Family was, I guess the best way to put it, was cooperative but not fully cooperative with the U.S. Marshals and Georgia State Police.
And Supervisory Deputy Duffy said that neither family member told the authorities, Georgia State Police or U.S. Marshals, where Qinxuan Pan was, if he was still in Georgia. By the way, the U.S. Marshals still have a $5,000 reward out for information leading to Pan's arrest. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., about a mile up the road behind me here on State Street at the Trinity Baptist Church, it's the funeral service for Kevin Jiang. Here in New Haven, Tony Terzi, Fox 61 News.